the news? Hey, is there something new? What's the news? Say what you want to say.
Good morning and welcome to Coffee Talk, the podcast that only tastes good when you put a bunch of sugar and milk into your irradiated coffee. I'm one of your hosts today. My name is Matt, and I'm joined by my homies Taryn and Max. Taryn and Max, how the hell are you?
Pretty
Doing
good.
Fine.
Hello there.
Is everybody's week was fine? Had a good time.
I hope everybody liked the first episode of Nuclear Fallout.
Nuclear war. Had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
It was
very depressing.
Keep saying had a good time. I don't know why I keep saying that.
Very depressing.
Yeah, it was a little depressing. This week it's not as depressing because it's mostly in the past.
Oh, you just wait now.
All right, first things first. Let's talk about the end of the world. Just to get it out of the way. Taryn, I know you've done some research on the Doomsday Clock.
Yes.
I'll give a little summary.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's before the Doomsday Clock. I know you've done some research on the Bikini Atoll bomb tests.
So,
Taryn, why don't you take us away? What is the Bikini Atoll?
Okay, so if you're unfamiliar with it, it is a place in the Pacific, and it's where we do nuclear testing. This was between 1946 and 1958. It's 23 or 24 detonations of nuclear weapons. Tests occurred at 7 different test sites on reef and sea and air and underwater. It's all kinds of nuclear tests goes on over there. The code name was Operation Crossroads, which is the first bomb named Able dropped from an aircraft and detonated 520 feet above the target fleet. The second one, codenamed Baker, was suspended under a barge. The second series of tests in 1954 was codenamed Operation Castle. It was detonated at dawn of March 1st, 1954, and the scientists miscalculated it. They thought it was going to be a 4 to 8 megaton, and it turns out it was a 15 megatons of a TNT nuclear explosion.
What? They were like, this is going to be a little explode. I mean, it's going to be big, but it's not going to be that. What? Do we know how it happened? Why? How do you goof up that bad?
Well, this is when we were testing the hydrogen bomb, so it's definitely 1,000 times more powerful.
Early hydrogen bomb. This was before we were like
they perfected.
Okay.
Yeah, this is definitely
perfected destruction.
Yes.
Yes.
That's
the
kind
power
of
of the sun and
odd
the palm
phrase,
of your
yes.
hands.
Some noteworthy things about Bikini Atoll is the government, the U.S. government that is, told the residents that they could be able to return back home after the nuclear tests. A majority of the island family had agreed to leave the island, but most of the residents were moved.
Were there people still there, or did everybody get... do you know?
I think most of them agreed to move, but the ones that didn't, they were kind of forcibly removed.
And when they came back, their homes were still there and everything, right? Like everything was fine. It was all good.
Highly doubt that.
Given the fact in 1958, the Bikini Atoll was unfit for habitation, the contamination of the soil and water, making subsistence farming and fishing too dangerous. So definitely irradiated, definitely not suitable for living for humans.
So you're telling me that the government lied to them?
Oh yeah.
What?
Shocking.
And because we lied to them, and because we moved them from their home, the United States has paid more than $300 million to various trust funds to compensate them and their descendants.
Where's Doge when you need him? Jesus.
I wonder how much it costs to make those bombs.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's $300 million.
Yeah,
Probably more than that.
Yeah, probably more, maybe less. I don't know.
I don't know.
How
I'm
much
not
does a
Lockheed
nuclear
Martin. I don't
bomb
know.
cost? Yeah. Raytheon, Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, you can ask those defense contractors. I'm sure they know. Also, it's to be noted that 90 minutes after the detonation, 23 crew members of a Japanese fishing boat were contaminated by the snow-like irradiation debris and ash. They had no idea what the explosion was or any understanding of the debris that rained down like snow, but they soon became ill with the effects of acute radiation.
Do you think they were out there on their boat and they just like looked up and it was,
Just snowing.
the nuclear bomb goes off and they're like, wow, that's crazy. What is that? And then it starts snowing on them and they're like, wow, this is magical. Maybe there's a dolphin or something nearby and they're like, whoa, this is. And then one guy starts throwing up his liver or something like that.
I don't know
Wow.
how fast it
Horrifying.
reacts, but I mean, yeah.
For reference, the Bikini Atoll is approximately 2,600 miles away from the coast of Japan, from
Oh,
Tokyo,
yeah.
excuse me. So I think it's not an oversight by the American government to not expect or to expect that those Japanese sailors would be there.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't think anybody expected
Yeah.
Japanese sailors to be around.
Some
Yep.
other kind of cool notes. The Bikini Atoll is now just a ship graveyard. And another point I was going to say is there's another place that they use for testing. I think it's Point Nemo. If you guys are unfamiliar with that, it's like the
Yes.
farthest place in the ocean where there's no land.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
so
Yeah,
that's
I've
like
heard
the
a little
safe.
bit about it.
A lot of satellites get dropped in Point Nemo. I know that.
Is that
That'll come later.
Are they still doing testing there?
Point Nemo? I
Yeah.
don't think so. I think that's just where they just drop satellites when
Okay.
satellites go to crash.
Okay, that's literally the loneliest place in the entire world.
Yes.
Yep. Where's
Kinda
that
wanna
big
go there.
patch of garbage?
I don't know where the garbage patch is. It's like a whole island.
We should bomb that instead.
I do know though, if you are at Point Nemo, the closest human to you is the people on the International Space Station.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of
That's-
wild.
That's an insane fact. Holy
Kind of
crap.
want to go
Yeah.
to Point Nemo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go.
I don't know. I might get
Are
seasick.
you like a big boat person, Max? You like boats?
I do like boats. Not the biggest boat person, but I would go there.
Yeah, I
Mostly
would
for
go
the
too.
isolation.
Yeah, cool.
How
Hanging
long do you
out
guys
just
think it would take to
on a
get
boat.
there?
See, by car, probably like
Not
3
by
days.
car, by boat.
Oh, I don't know, man. It would take a long.
Oh.
I mean, it depends how fast the boat is. Probably a modern freighter could get there in like a week or so.
Oh.
Or 2 weeks.
They can get there before
don't know.
midnight?
Before midnight?
Yeah. Which kind of segues
What is
into
it,
the
Santa Claus?
No, it kind of segues into the Doomsday Clock, midnight.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's
oh,
minutes
yeah,
to
it just
midnight.
broke
It's
Yeah,
minutes
broke
to
your segue.
midnight.
How many minutes?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe a minute and 29 seconds.
Oh, that's what we're at right
Something
now.
like that.
But yeah, I hope not.
Oh, damn. Taryn, I like what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'll give a little summary about this doomsday clock you're talking about.
All right.
So for anybody that doesn't know, listeners, unless you already do know, then, well, fuck me then. The doomsday clock is a symbol that represents the estimated likelihood of a human-made global catastrophe. It is created by the nonprofit organization, the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. Taryn, let us know some more about the doomsday clock. Give us some fun facts.
Okay. The Doomsday Clock was created in 1947. It was by a magazine of a bunch of scientists that they posted like every month. And it talks about like energy, weapons, diplomacy, climate change, politics, nuclear threats, bioterrorism, artificial intelligence, all of it. And in 1947, they kind of started a yearly clock that was actually the cover of the magazine. And
Before we get too far,
Uh-huh.
Taryn, do these people, do they account for the Jewish space laser?
I'm probably
The
sure that is a
Jewish
factor. I can't
space
tell you how
laser.
big of a factor that is.
Okay.
That is news to me.
As long as they're
They're probably, yeah, it's probably a factor. I just don't know how much.
Doing some
Okay.
Googling on the side.
Yeah. Careful.
Yeah.
It's a big rabbit hole.
Yeah.
If you're not careful,
So, like I said, it was created in 1947, and they started off at 7 minutes to midnight. It has been set backwards 8 times and forward 18 times. The farthest time from midnight was 17 minutes in 1991. And the closest is 89 seconds is where we're at today. We can go through some interesting accounts as to when the clock got forward or backwards. In 1953, the United States tests its first thermonuclear device in November 1952 as part of Operation Ivy. This is kind of around the Bikini Atoll time. Before the Soviet Union followed suit with the Joe 4 test in August, this remained the clock's closest approach to midnight until it was tied in 2018 until 2020, where we got lower than that. Operation Ivy, if you were unfamiliar, was codenamed Mike. The operation was the first to involve the hydrogen bomb rather than the atomic bomb, which we discussed earlier, which is how they were so far off with the scientists.
So that's the one where they're like, oh, this is going to be like a nice big 4 to 8 megaton explosion, and then just like,
yeah, it was like double that.
Yeah, I still can't get over that.
Semantics.
There is a chain of islands that are hard to pronounce. Uliglab, and there is the whole chain is called Inawitak.
Oh.
And the Uliglab is a small little island inside of those chains, and there was a bomb detonated a 10.4 megaton. So the outcome of the test was reported to incoming President Eisenhower by Atomic Energy Commission chairman, and as follows: the island of Uliglab is missing.
God damn! You sink a whole island.
Yeah.
You just think about it. We have the power to just destroy islands.
Yeah. We also have the power to make islands.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
We could do that. Those, what are the? Is it the Dutch that like to make islands and stuff?
I do know Saudi Arabia has made islands. There's the whole world islands.
Saudi Arabia, yeah, they do that.
It's funny how when we do these recordings twice, they're different.
Yeah. Yeah, last time I made a joke about how the island must have said something and burned the roast.
Yeah.
And that's why it got wiped off the map. Now we're talking about the Saudis.
Yeah.
That's fun.
In 1960, the United States and Soviet Union cooperate to avoid direct confrontational and region conflicts, such as the 1956 Suez Crisis. So this was a net positive. 5 minutes is when it rolled back on the clock. We were sitting at 2 minutes in 1953, and because of this, that was we got to 7 minutes on the clock, which is pretty good.
Nice. We made it back.
Yeah.
So out of
It just
curiosity,
takes little...
for this, sorry to interrupt, but
Oh, you're fine.
For these minutes to midnight. Sorry,
Yes.
I keep saying that because that's a Linkin Park album, so that's good. The Doomsday Clock.
It's based off
Yes.
of the clock, I think.
Yes,
isn't
it is. Yeah.
So this Doomsday Clock, will it ever be hours from midnight? Is that a possibility? Because I know that we've been minutes to midnight for decades.
It is a possibility, but I don't think it will be in our lifetime.
Interesting. And do you know what the determining factors are for this clock?
Oh, well, like I mentioned earlier, it's a lot of different world affairs. There's politics, energy, weapons, diplomacy, climate change, AI, like bioterrorism. It's not just one country or just superpowers. It's how the world as a whole is in this kind of like the state of the world, and it comes out every January.
Yeah. Okay. I'm curious as to what the logic is
I don't know exactly know how they're weighing all of those factors. It's very interesting though. But
Yeah, no, for sure. I'll have to do some independent research just to
Mhm.
find out what that formula is and what
Yep.
variables tie into it. Very curious.
Yep.
Yeah, I was saying too. I think it's less inaccurate. I mean, it probably is pretty accurate, but I think it's also a lot of it is a political commentary of
Yeah.
it's letting people know, and it's really cool. I don't know the little bit of research I did, and I recommend it. What year were we at, Taryn?
We are going right into 1962, which was the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh, I think I might have something on that. Okay, well, let's get into that. The Doomsday Clock serves as a great reminder that while we have weapons able to destroy us, we're never far from total annihilation. So I'd like to get into one of the first times the tensions were so high, both sides had their fingers hovering over the button. Of course, I'm talking about what Taryn just mentioned, 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Mhm.
So, American-Soviet relations in 1962 were strained to critical levels. It's real bad. After the Bay of Pigs is kind of what led into this. Max, you know a little bit about this. Why don't you kick us off with the Bay of Pigs?
Yeah, no problem. Well, I think before we actually get to the Bay of Pigs, I think we need to find out the holistic
Okay.
picture of
Yeah, paint us a picture.
yeah, of Cuba at this time. So post World War II, we have the Cold War era where communist Russia or USSR and capitalist America are really forcing or really trying to not force but spread their influence upon the world because
Mhm.
at the time it was enemy of my enemy is my friend because we weren't close. And Cuba had some sort of revolution. I don't recall the details of it, but Fidel Castro was the leader of that revolution, and the Russians saw this as a prime opportunity to influence the Cubans with their ideals by supporting Fidel with armaments, logistics, what have you. And if for those of you that don't know, uh, Cuba is about 90 kilometers, I think it is, or sorry, 90 miles away from Florida, and the U.S. saw that as a valuable threat to the mainland, with Fidel Castro being in power and supported by the Russians. That kind of developed a area of Cuba that brought about, or not area, but all of Cuba that brought welcomed arms from Russia, such as nuclear warheads and so on. So that's what brought about Cuba and the influence of the Soviet Union upon them and how close in proximity they are to U.S. mainland. And I think that
Mhm.
ties right into the Bay of Pigs and the political unrest that happened at that time in that region.
Right. Basically, America just did nothing at all to make Cuba trust them.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, with the Bay of Pigs. I mean,
Yeah.
and for good reason. I mean, like you were saying, Max. The communist revolution there was sort of backed by the Soviet Union,
Yeah.
but still, you know, the United States took that as more of a threat rather than just like they're just another country that's either going to prosper or fail under communism, and
I think it was
we took it personally.
yeah, and I think it's
Go
more for
ahead.
the proximity of
Hmm.
Cuba to mainland US. It's too close.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the ease at which you could bring materials to and from it's too close to home.
Yeah, and we'll get into that with when I read more into what they bring in, and it's
Mhm.
not just the missiles, but they bring bombers, they bring troops, they more armaments,
Oh, I was wanting the
anti-aircraft.
cigars, the Cuban cigars.
Dude, I don't smoke a lot of cigars. Every now and then I'll smoke a cigar, and it's fine. I don't know if yeah,
Yes, the Cuban cigars are excellent.
they're the way to go. I've never had one.
Highly recommend.
I would like to one of these days. All right, so I'll just get into my my little outline here. We'll get into a little bit of the Bay of Pigs, and feel free, guys, to chime in at any time.
Okay.
So in 1962, American and Soviet relations were strained to critical levels. It was like both sides were poking sleeping rattlesnakes with their fingers. So this is after the Bay of Pigs. The Cuban Missile Crisis lasted for 13 days, but it really kind of began, not the missile crisis itself, but like Max was saying, it began sort of with the communist revolution in Cuba and the Soviets really saddling up to Fidel Castro and giving him weapons and stuff. But the main ordeal lasted from the 16th of October to the 28th of October 1962. And I think to this date, it might stand as the most public display of near all-out nuclear war to this day. I know I already said to this date, but there have been other times where it's kind of been under the radar of like, well, will they, won't they? Is it close? There've been, I think we
this
talked
is
about
probably
it
the
on
closest
last
it's ever been.
Yeah, this is the closest it's ever been, as in it's been in the news.
True.
While it was going on, like it's going to happen. So while Putin, Trump, and Kim Jong-un do their best to measure their nuclear dicks, compared to the U.S. and Russia in the 60s, their displays leave one wanting more, or less actually. But what I really mean is that Cuba was a horrifying tightrope walk, and today the threats stop at the press conference. So like Putin in Ukraine talking about using tactical nuclear weapons, possibly, if it keeps going. He hasn't yet. He said that, how long have they been at war? For 3 years now, 2 years? He said that at the beginning. He's like, well, we might just drop some bombs on them.
Mhm.
And that's never happened. So in Cuba, though, the threats were real. Missiles were pointed directly at the United States, capable of hitting practically any target on the mainland. And on the other side of the coin, the threat to Russia was real as well, as the United States had missiles capable of hitting Moscow, stationed in Turkey and Italy. They were the Jupiter missiles. I think that's what they were called.
Yeah.
So it was in response to the aggression towards Cuba and Russia being so close to the United States that everybody decided to start barking a little bit, Got a little dangerous. So we've already talked a little bit about the Bay of Pigs. It was an invasion carried out on April in 1961. So about a year before, a year and a half, I think, actually, all of the missile crisis went down. And it was kind of one of the biggest blunders that happened when Kennedy was president. Aside from maybe when he got shot in the back of the head, that was a pretty big blunder, I think.
I wouldn't blame him for that one.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, and
Might not have been his fault.
For reference, for some of you that don't know, the Bay of Pigs was essentially an invasion of freedom fighters, Cuban freedom fighters that were trained on U.S. soil and U.S. mainland, that had the promise from the Kennedy administration that they would receive support, such as aerial support and strikes and whatnot, when they invade Cuba again to retake their country back from Fidel Castro. And unfortunately, due to various factors, mostly political, the Kennedy administration and Kennedy himself did not keep his promise, and the Cuban freedom fighters got slaughtered in the Bay of Pigs.
Yeah. Basically, the operation started kind of neutered from the get. Kennedy kind of backed off of the aggression. And I don't know, it could be argued that was a good thing. It probably was, but I don't know. It's hard to say. So after the Bay of Pigs, Khrushchev and Castro later came to the agreement that it would benefit both of them if thermonuclear weapons were stationed on the island. So this is in 1962, after Castro's kind of been president for a little while. On October 16th, before we get to that, the U.S. kind of keeps an eye on Cuba after all of that fails. They know they're kind of deep in the pockets. With Soviet Russia, through all of that, they're launching like reconnaissance missions with U-2 spy planes and things like that. And on October 16th in 1962, a U-2 spy plane captured evidence of construction of, I believe it was 4 missile sites The White House called a National Security Council meeting with some other people, and they formed this executive committee of the National Security Council, also known as XCOM, which I just want to point out, how cool of a name is that? Love that name.
It's pretty cool.
Guys, any thoughts on the name? Could it be cooler?
And
Maybe
to not
another
be
X.
referenced with the video game XCOM.
Yeah, the cool strategy alien video game.
Correct.
Now, XCOM advised Kennedy to launch airstrikes at the missile sites and to invade Cuba once again. I think they were still kind of pissed off that Kennedy kind of backed out of the Bay of Pigs thing. I think they really just wanted to stage a coup. They were itching for one. So instead, Kennedy chose a less aggressive option. He chose a naval blockade, but they didn't call it a blockade. They called it a quarantine, because if they called it a blockade, it could be seen as like an act of war or some semantic thing. So on the 22nd of October, this is a few days into this missile crisis, they're kind of deciding what to do. The 22nd of October, the blockade formed a wall of ships around Cuba, and these sort of blocked all trade coming in and out, looking for parts for the missiles. And if things
Is this
were clear,
why I can't get my Cuban cigars?
Part of the reason.
Part of it, yeah.
The embargoes.
If I remember, around this time, Kennedy told one of his his closest advisors to just buy a bunch of Cuban cigars for himself.
That sounds about right.
Like he was like,
I wonder if he had inside knowledge.
yeah, he did. He's like, listen, we're about to some shit's about to go down. I want a bunch of boxes of Cuban cigars and just leave it at that. And then he put the quarantine on, and an embargo was instituted. So you've got the quarantine gone up. There's a blockade of naval vessels around Cuba, not really letting anybody in, especially the Soviet Union. They're trying to stop the missile silo constructions. And during this period of time, the military was operating under a DEFCON 2 level of readiness, which is to say the bombs were primed and folks were ready to go at any moment. You know, the Minutemen missile silos were... I don't know if the Minutemen were ready. Did we have Minutemen at that time? Who knows?
I believe we
but
did,
either
but
way,
I don't think I was part of... I think they were probably...
I don't know when those were implemented.
I thought it was World War One or two. I thought World War One was...
Well, the Minutemen, that was based off of this. I think it was the Revolutionary War.
Yeah. Revolutionary.
Yeah, but the silos were ones that were ICBMs ready to go. Like there's like South Dakota and Wyoming and stuff all over the country. But if they didn't have them ready, the ones in Turkey and Italy were ready to go, basically.
Yeah.
So as a brief aside, right now, according to DEFCONlevel.com, we are at DEFCON 3, meaning we're at a high readiness, but not quite looking over at the guy carrying the briefcase with the nuclear codes like, hey, do you think we should just go ahead and do it? You know?
And to confirm, DEFCON 1 or 5 is at the highest?
1 is, I believe it's cocked pistol. Like 1 is the most dangerous. Like 1 means it's already happened or it's in the progress.
Perfect.
2 is like pretty well to go. It's this.
Yep. No. Understood. Just wanted to make sure I understood that. Thank you.
No problem. So the quarantine led to immense posturing by the Cubans and the Soviets and America. And every encounter was sweaty and intense. I'm kind of cutting out a lot of stuff here. We don't need to. You just need to know that every single interaction between America and Soviet Russia and the Cubans was like, you were walking on eggshells.
Yep.
All right. So after, when was the blockade? The 22nd, 4 days, Khrushchev sent a letter to Kennedy. He got up at 2 a.m. in Moscow and sent it to Kennedy at 6 p.m. in America on the 26th of October, which is my mom's birthday. I love you, Mom. And here's what the letter reads as. Here's what it says. Mr. President, we and you ought not now to pull on the ends of the rope in which you have tied the knot of war, because the more the two of us pull, the tighter that knot will be tied, and a moment may come when that knot will be tied so tight that even he who tied it will not have the strength to untie it, and then it will be necessary to cut that knot. And what that would mean is not for me to explain to you, because you yourself understand perfectly of what terrible forces our countries dispose. Consequently, if there is no intention to tighten that knot and thereby to doom the world to the catastrophe of thermonuclear war, then let us not only relax the forces pulling on the ends of the rope, let us take measures to untie that knot. We are ready for this.
That is a phenomenal
So, in
quote.
other words, yeah,
Like-
yeah, let us take measures to untie that knot. We
Yeah.
are ready for this.
Well, just the whole thing. Like, such
Yeah.
eloquence compared to
Yes.
current leadership.
Yeah, the perspective
it is.
back then is way different than what we have now.
Yep.
It's more of a global perspective back then than what we have now.
Mhm. I like what this letter does too. It sort of humanizes the Russians. I think even now, we kind of think of them as being these brutalistic people that had no thoughts of human life.
Yep.
But I feel like this letter shows the exact opposite. I mean, they acknowledge that this is not what anybody wants.
And that was
Mhm.
Khrushchev's letter
Yeah.
to Kennedy.
That's correct. Yeah. He
Yes.
sent this directly
Marvelous.
to him in the middle of the night, Russia time.
Wow.
So the next day in Moscow, or I guess the morning of in Moscow for Khrushchev, things were a little bit different. He issued a public radio statement, and he said the missiles would be removed if Kennedy agreed to remove the missile threats in mainland Europe, that is the ones in Turkey and Italy. And from this point on, the time was kind of ticking. Every minute without de-escalation was another closer to the trigger being pulled. Fidel Castro sent a telegram to the Soviets requesting a preemptive strike if the U.S. were to invade. He basically kind of condemned America, and they were like, "Listen, I think we should just go ahead and get him now." But in 2010, Castro finally apologized for that, basically saying hindsight was 2020. And I really only bring that up because how crazy is it that dude lived until 2016 and he was still like
Yeah.
giving interviews and stuff. He was in charge, I think, almost until he died.
Yeah.
And then his brother.
I think it's crazier
over.
that he had over 600 attempts on his life.
Oh yeah, we never got into that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
He's
whole other thing.
One of the most attempted
Assassinations.
yeah.
and the
Crazy guy.
CIA was definitely most of them.
Yep. And the fact that he survived that many attempts with a majority of them being CIA led is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Gotta wonder, like, how competent is the CIA really? You know,
Yeah.
like if they can't kill some sweaty guy over in Cuba, what I don't know. Maybe that's a bad way to look at things.
That is a bad way.
All right.
We don't need
Well, on the
more
morning.
death and destruction, by the way. So
No, yeah, we don't. We definitely don't. Yeah, that would have been. Imagine had they actually. Yeah, but I don't want to. That's another episode. Like, what
Yeah.
if? Okay, so the next morning, this is the 27th of October, the United States sent a U-2 out for a recon to fly over Cuba. And this was less of a recon mission and more of a litmus test. The U.S. reasoned if the plane was shot down, then it would have been downed by Russia, because they didn't believe Cuba had the ability to hit the plane. They also agreed that if the plane were shot down, they wouldn't think twice about it and attack. So here's what I pulled from Wikipedia about the following events. This is kind of the timeline. So at 4 p.m. on the 27th, Kennedy recalled members of XCOM to the White House and ordered that a message should immediately be sent to U Thant of the United Nations, which he was the general at the time, or the leader of the United Nations at the time, and he was kind of being the middleman between the United States and Soviet Russia. So he would carry messages to the Russian government and them back to America. They wanted to send a message to him asking the Soviets to suspend work on the missiles while negotiations were carried out. During that meeting, General Maxwell Taylor delivered the news that the U-2 had been shot down. Kennedy had earlier claimed he would order an attack on such sites if fired upon, but he decided not to act unless another attack was made. And on the 28th of October 1962, this is on the Russian side, Khrushchev told his son Sergei that the shooting down of Anderson's U-2 was by the Cuban military at the discretion of Raul Castro. Now, we narrowly avoided an all-out war right there. Robert McNamara, Kennedy's Secretary of War, said this 40 years later about the whole situation. We had to send a U-2 over to gain reconnaissance information on whether the Soviet missiles were becoming operational. We believed that if the U-2 was shot down, that the Cubans didn't have capabilities to shoot it down. The Soviets did. We believed if it was shot down, it would be shot down by a Soviet surface-to-air missile unit, and that it would represent a decision by the Soviets to escalate the conflict. And therefore, before we sent the U-2 out, we agreed that if it was shot down, we wouldn't meet, we'd simply attack. It was shot down on Friday. Fortunately, we changed our mind. We thought, well, it might have been an accident, we won't attack. Later we learned that Khrushchev had reasoned just as we did. We sent over the U-2. If it was shot down, he reasoned, we would believe it was an intentional escalation, and therefore he issued orders to Pliyev, the Soviet commander in Cuba, to instruct all of his batteries not to shoot down the U-2. So that's another thing of like
a razor's edge
Russians,
that we're walking.
It's a razor, yeah. And Cuba's the one that issued the command to shoot it down, but it's another thing to kind of humanize the Russians in that they didn't want the war.
Yes,
They didn't want to do it just as bad as we didn't want to.
Yeah,
and thankfully, we kind of called the bluff.
I'm sure Russia was pretty mad at Cuba though.
Oh, I can't imagine. That happened and they were like, oh shit. I bet they were both mad and they were probably like, they probably had the briefcase ready to go, ready to launch. Because I think it was also confirmed around this time, shortly before the agreement was reached, that 3 of the 4 sites were operational and ready to launch. So, but later that day, on the 27th, the agreement was reached. The missiles in Cuba would be dismantled and removed, and the U.S. would do the same, although more discreetly, with their own missiles in Turkey and Italy. The latter part was of a secret agreement, so it wasn't a public thing. However, the blockade, the quarantine that they set up, remained in place until the missiles and all Soviet bombers were removed from Cuba. And the blockade dispersed on the 20th of November, nearly a month after it all began, while the missiles in Turkey and Italy were removed in April of 1963. So was that 6 months later? 7 months later?
Yeah.
And that was that. Nobody ever decided to play with war and weapons of death and destruction ever again.
Huh. Yeah.
So we just sit back and relax, you know. Ha! No, I'm just kidding, fellas. Nope.
Never again.
Yeah, you might be shocked to know the United States and the USSR both contributed, and still do, to their fair share of forever wars from then until now.
Yeah.
So, like Vietnam, Afghanistan, both sides, the Middle East, what else? Currently in Ukraine, are we going to war with Argentina? Who knows? Probably. Yeah. Iraq, all kinds of stuff. It just keeps going. At least no nuclear weapons are being used.
True.
But the point still stands. The responsibility of humanity is to never let such things happen. Nuclear weapons are but one method of total destruction. Guns, bombs, and chemical war can get the job done just as well. So I don't know. Even if we're not going to blow ourselves up in a one fell swoop.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of stuff out there.
It's quite a decade to be in with the Cold War and just the razor edge that we had to walk. Like, I'm surprised that the Doomsday Clock wasn't closer back then. And in fact, in 1963, we gained 5 minutes. So we were sitting at 12 minutes to midnight, which is pretty high. But that was because the United States and the Soviet Union signed a partial test ban treaty limiting atmospheric nuclear testing. So that's pretty nice that we got.
They were working their way.
Yeah, to disarmament.
Down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and somehow that led to 1 minute and 29 seconds this year.
Yeah. So another keynotes was in the 1990s, the Berlin Wall fall. The Iron Curtain, along with the reunification of Germany, meant that the Cold War is nearing its end. And because of the 1990s with the Cold War, we gained 4 minutes in that year. And then the following year, we gained 7 minutes, putting us at 17 minutes in 1991, which is the highest. Yeah.
Okay, so 1991, great year for music.
Yes.
you know, Nevermind, all kinds of grunge stuff.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that had anything to do with it? Do you think
I don't know.
Do you think the scientists were like, hey, there's these guys from Seattle, they're about to drop some fire ass shit.
No, I don't.
Let's take the year off.
I don't know if music contributes to that. I mean,
Okay.
maybe it does. Maybe it's culture. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Berlin Wall falling. When the Berlin Wall fell, people were kind of hopeful, I think,
Yeah.
that, it wouldn't.
The famous
anything
speech,
bad would-
Gorbachev tear down this wall.
Yep.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, 1991 is where we're at for 17 minutes, and then we kind of squandered all of that away to now, where we're sitting at 1 minute and 29 seconds in 2025.
Yeah. I just want people to understand how terrifying it is. And I think they probably do.
Mhm.
But if you consider that the Cuban Missile Crisis was so close to a total all-out war,
Yeah.
I don't think there would be a missile crisis today.
No.
If it got that close, I think it would devolve into all-out war.
Yeah. And I said we. I don't want people to misconstrue it. It's not just the United States. It's the whole world. And the whole world has been pushing to this. And with the continuing of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Middle Eastern crisis, climate change, biological threats, advancing technologies with AI, it's all pushing closer and closer and closer to midnight. And it's not a good time period for that.
Yeah, I feel like climate change is also probably a bigger thing in this doomsday clock than we're just giving it credit. I know we're just talking about nuclear bombs right now, but the climate change can't ignore that.
The 2015 is we lost 2 minutes to climate change. We were sitting at 5 minutes, and then it dropped down to 3. Concerns amid a continuing lack of global political action to address global climate change, the modernization of nuclear weapons in the United States and Russia, and the problem of nuclear waste. That was what caused 2 minute drop. So,
Do
Interesting.
you know if yeah.
there is a whole North Korea bit. They've been pushing nukes for the last 2 decades. In 2006, Korea conducted its first nuclear test. An underground nuclear explosion was detected. Estimated yield less than a kiloton. I don't know. What do you guys think of North Korea pushing towards nukes?
I don't want to underestimate them, but I kind of do. Maybe not underestimate, but I feel like we're more likely to get peace from them before they develop something actually capable of hitting us.
Really?
I don't know.
That's-
Go ahead, Max.
I don't know that so I agree with your take, but I don't agree with the reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
their national anthem is about destroying the United States, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Also,
That's a good point.
From their perspective, they saw what we did with Saddam. They're never going to give up their weapons because of what they saw what we did. Like, they're not going to trust us because we
Saddam
squandered
didn't
our
even have
reputation.
weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why we're inching closer and closer to the doomsday. That's not helping by any means.
No.
And so North Korea is definitely not going to give up their nukes because of those factors. And then in 2009, they've been testing more. They're at 2 to 7 kilotons. In 2013, there was a mixed reporting. In South Korea, they say that it was a 6 to 9 kiloton detonation, while German Federal Institute of Geoscience and Natural Resources estimated 40 kiloton. It's a misreporting there because you get one report from South Korea, which is much closer geologically speaking than Germany. But I mean, take it as much as you can. They're not going to let us know what weapons they have. That's a secret for them. So, in 2016, January Geo Service survey detected a 5.1 seismic disturbance in North Korea. North Korea claimed that it was a hydrogen bomb underground, which is of course they're going to claim that because they're going to try to see all high and mighty that they're capable of this much destruction to make us fear them. That's experts in the United States, analysts don't believe it. It was more an alignment with a 6 to 9 kiloton yield, which is still destructive, but it's not
That's
hydrogen
enough.
level. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not accidentally detonating what they think is a 4 megaton and it's a 15 megaton.
That's true.
Yet.
That is true. When mountains start disappearing, that's a sign.
Yes.
I think.
Okay. Jeez.
And then in 2016, North Korea claimed to have put a satellite into orbit. This was frowned upon. Nevertheless, North Korea launched the rocket, leading the United States, Japan, and South Korea to criticize the launch, despite North Korea's claim that the rocket was for peaceful scientific purposes. It is heavily criticized because it as an attempt to perform an ICBM test. North Korea said it was for scientific purposes when it could have been an ICBM test. We don't necessarily know. Is
that the one? I'm trying to remember. Is that the one that was like launched over Japan, basically, or is that something else?
I think
No,
so. I think Japan said that they were going to. Japan said they were going to activate their air defenses. I don't think they ended up doing it. I think it landed 3 miles off the coast or something like that. Off of North Korea.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yes, Japan was very concerned. Yeah, it was not a good time, and also the fact that you're covering it up as science that irritates me. I don't like the fact that they're using that as a like a scapegoat to deploy nuclear weapons or whatever.
Right.
Test. I mean,
yeah, just as a cover up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you guys were wondering if they had capabilities. This is in 2017. North Korea launched 2 ICBMs, the second of which has sufficient range to reach continental United States.
Was that confirmed?
September 2017, the country announced a further perfect hydrogen bomb test. That's what I think they can hit California, I think, but that's still a massive target. I don't think they could hit mainland more so. Like, I don't think they could hit Midwest, if that makes sense, or maybe even Eastern. I mean,
not yet.
It's only a matter of time because they're not going to stop.
Well, and just the direction of the Earth's rotation and wind movements and all that. Like, you hit the West Coast, it's gonna make its way to the East Coast. Like Mount St. Helens eruption, ashes went all the way to Maine. So
yes. It covered the entire United States. It was crazy. But it's only a matter of time before they do get capable of those weaponry, and it's not good by any means. And I do think we should take them seriously, but the things that work is you can't further antagonize them because they're going to just double down on their efforts. You have to treat them with the respect that they deserve, but also you can't cave into being to a dictator. You have to stand on your principles. You can
neither antagonize and you can't also enable.
Yes,
exactly. Which is a difficult line to walk on.
Again, another razor edge.
Yeah, you can't be the buddy with the people that starve their own citizens.
Exactly. Yeah. And like a good buddy of mine is, anyways, like he hears news about North Korea and he instantly just thinks, they can't even harm a fly. What? It's fake news, Not the Trump fake news, but the that's a load of BS. I don't believe their reports. But when you're testing nuclear capabilities and warheads and ICBMs and whatnot, whether small or insignificant or what have you, you still need to respect that and acknowledge and keep an eye on.
A decade ago, never know. A decade ago, I would say they probably weren't capable of it, but now they probably are. Like, it's definitely a razor edge where you have to be careful. And a lot's happened in a decade too, like politically speaking wise. with the international
there's-
relations and
I don't know. Like I said that I think we're more likely to broker peace with them than them attack us. It's mostly because they're so unpredictable, you know?
Yeah.
Like I feel like their whole nation could fall apart tomorrow and I wouldn't be surprised. But I'm more like, maybe not broker peace is the right word, but it's like I think we would be more likely to just go to war with them than get attacked nuclear.
I can agree with that.
Nuclear.
It's, to me, it's crazy that not only is North Korea, they could be just as strong with like the nuclear like power and weaponry, but also in the same decade Russia could be just as close to utter collapses like North Korea is. It's weird with the Ukraine war, and it's because the economy of Russia right now, it's not good. Like,
although the economy and the citizens are leaving, the birth rate is one of the lowest in the entire world.
Yeah, it is so bad.
There's a famous poem by W.B. Yeats, and it's referenced in Stephen King's novel The Stand, but it's called The Second Coming, and it's this idea about like we're doing all this bad stuff to everybody with this idea that Jesus or God is going to return and everything's going to be good again. But in his poem, he says things fall apart. And I think he's talking about society and everything. That's kind of what I see. You know, it was a very astute observation, I think.
Yeah.
Recommend reading it. It was written, I think, in World War I or World War II era. In like back. It was way back then. But it was basically just saying like this can't stand. The center doesn't hold. You know, the war.
But there
War's
is
bad.
moments of hope. Like, this is a weird way of putting it. I do know of an event that happened in World War One. It was on Christmas in no man's land in World War One, where both sides came together and started trading cigarettes and playing soccer. If you guys didn't know about that, that is actually a factual thing. And so even in the most harrowing of times, there can still be hope, but it's if you have to push for it. You
have to push for it. You have to look at the other side as humans.
Yes. And I think that's what JFK did. I think that's what Khrushchev did. If I misspoke his name, I think that's his name, right?
Khrushchev.
Yeah, close enough.
Khrushchev.
Yep.
And acknowledging that they are a human being goes a long ways to solving a lot of the world's problems.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
empathy. Empathy is a real thing, and some people don't have it, and that's a problem. But, well, do you think we should go ahead and end her here? I'll read the last lines. And
sure.
Absolutely.
We'll take our last few sips of coffee.
Yeah.
So, today we look at things through the lens of the mistakes we made long ago. The doomsday clock reads 89 seconds before midnight, the closest it has ever been. We know the horror. We know the danger. We know that it must never happen. Can a country have nuclear weapons and never use them? What lessons are there to learn next? Well, I just don't know the answers, folks. But I do know Max probably has a not-so-fun fact for us.
I do.
In the episode
I
launch.
always have a not-so-fun, depressing, wonderful fact. Funny how we can say such polar opposites in one sentence. Most stars in the universe die alone in complete darkness long after the last galaxies fade, meaning that almost everything that has ever existed will eventually be forgotten, even by the cosmos itself.
Yeah. So what's the point, guys?
It's fun.
Don't get all pessimistic on me now.
Cynicism not allowed in the coffee talk.
There's still hope.
Yeah.
There's always hope.
Yeah, there's always hope. And if there's not, I mean, we're going to die anyway, so like
we got coffee to enjoy it,
Might as well hope.
Yes.
Yeah.
You only live once.
Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah,
YOLO. If there's anything to take away from this podcast, it's YOLO.
YOLO, nuclear armaments are bad, and we have almost gone into a nuclear war on more than one occasion.
Yeah.
the world's almost ended a couple times.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening to Coffee Talk, everybody. Be sure to slurp down the dregs at the bottom of the cup. We will be back next week. We'll discuss some other fun stuff like the Trail of Tears, maybe? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. Probably not going to be the Trail of Tears, but
To be determined. If you all
Yeah.
have any ideas of what you would like us to talk about next week, granted it would have to be a fairly quick prep on our part. Please let us know. Feel
Write them
free
in the
to comment.
comments.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would love to know
Comment,
what
like, subscribe.
conversations you guys would
Yeah.
like to
Be
have.
sure to let us know.
smash the bell. Hell yeah. All right. Have a good rest of your day.
And
Bye.
week. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
And week.
Ready,
Bye.
go. What's the news? Hey, is there something new? What's the news? Say what you want to say.